Yesterday, Jamie took her husband to an IV clinic for fluids because he wouldn't eat or drink, but he still insists nothing is wrong, and he refuses any more medical help. If you're caring for a loved one with dementia who keeps saying, "I'm fine," while you see clear signs that they're not, you know how heavy it feels to decide what to do next without a clear diagnosis on paper. Hey, Christian Care Companion. Welcome back to Dementia Caregiver Support for Christians, the podcast where we help Bible-believing Christians with 4 core caregiving problems: the hard burdens, the hard conversations, the hard decisions, and the hard emotions. Today's episode is a hard decisions conversation with Jamie, and we're going to walk through how to make wise choices when your loved one with dementia refuses help, how to decide whether a firm diagnosis would actually change what you do, how to work with the patterns you already see, and how to support eating and drinking and daily routines without constant arguing. By the end, you'll have a simple way to think through your next step, a clear sense of what you can reasonably ask for from your care team, and a few practical changes you can make at home this week to protect both your loved one and your own energy as you move forward without a confirmed label. If you want steady guidance from a Christian lens as you yourself sort through and consider these decisions, I'd invite you to join us in the Foundations group of the Christian Dignity Society. It is a one-time investment of $97 for lifetime access until December 31st this year. And then next year, it'll shift to a yearly membership of $97. In this Foundations membership, you will get clear, repeatable tools and a calm place to ask your questions so you can practice wise stewardship in your caregiving instead of guessing alone. If this sounds like it fits you, you can join using the link in the show notes or go to thinkdifferentdementia.com/join. And now let's walk through Jamie's story together and see how we can use this as a real life example of how to make wise, steady decisions when the person you love insists nothing is wrong. Hello, Jamie. Get you unmuted there in your car. You gotta unmute.
Yep. Okay.
Hello,
Can you hear me?
Jamie. I can hear you. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Good. Like I take everybody through this process. If your caregiving journey felt easier about 6 months from today, what would that look like for you?
I think the biggest thing for me right now is trying to get an accurate diagnosis. And it's for my husband. You know this because I've talked to you before, but my mother has dementia and she's a pleasantly confused, super sweet. I don't really have too many problems with her. She's in assisted living, but I'm living with my husband who I went to the neurologist and they think that he's got frontotemporal dementia, the behavioral variant of that.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband really will not go back to the neurologist. He's refusing all medical help. So it's very difficult to get an accurate diagnosis, even though he's had more symptoms that have come up over the last 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay. So what is standing in your way other than your husband of getting a more accurate diagnosis?
It's just him. I mean, I'm ready to go. I mean, he's not eating much. He's not drinking enough fluids. He's sleeping all the time. He has total apathy for everything. It's really bad. And I can't, I've tried to get him into the doctor and he refuses. I even had to take him to an IV place
Mhm.
yesterday just to get some fluids in
Mhm.
him. But I'm ready to go. And I've tried to get other people to talk to him, and he will even tell them to not even come over to the house.
Okay. May I ask a question?
Sure.
When you are addressing these things with him and other people are talking to him about this, what is his response? Does he express the why behind his reluctance?
He thinks there's nothing wrong with him.
Okay.
Even with all of these symptoms that I mentioned, he thinks he is fine.
Okay.
He thinks that's all normal and there's no reason for him to go. There's nothing wrong with him.
Okay. So, Miss Jamie, may I make a couple of observations?
Please.
So, since you and I have spoken before, and since we come from a similar academic background, I would love to ask a question in a way that's not intended to be provocative or offensive. But the question is, what will having a diagnosis change for you?
It's hard right now because even with his friends, like he's got a friend who wants to take him to Chicago. Well,
Mhm.
he's not able to do that. I don't know what to tell people is truly wrong with him. And should I? So it's not, I just want to make sure that there's not something else going on, either in addition to, or that is just what it is the FTD. Yeah.
Now, based on your interactions with the doctors up until now, how confident are they on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being, no, it's not at all, and 10 being, yeah, we're pretty confident this is FTD? Where do you think the doctors are in that continuum?
Probably a 7 or 8.
Okay.
Because he has an MRI done, but no, it didn't really show a whole lot. But just from if I was a diagnostician, you could just check off all the indicators that he has that.
Okay. So we have a fairly high likelihood that if we were to get him in for more testing, that it would be confirmed.
Correct.
Right. In the meantime, trying to get him in to go is likely making him very annoyed and agitated and unhappy, correct?
Oh yes.
Yes. So we have to consider finding the balance between the need to know definitively that it is FTD, because over time it will become more evident and able to be definitively diagnosed as it continues to progress. Would you agree?
I agree.
Right. So what do we do in the meantime? How do we help you in the meantime so that it makes it easier for you? Keeping in mind that we want to try to meet his needs, not eating, not drinking, those kinds of things are concerning. I mean, if you've had to take him for IV fluids, that is concerning. And when somebody has anosognosia, do you remember anosognosia? So for people
Oh
who
yes,
are
ma'am. That's exactly what he has.
I know, but for people who are listening, anosognosia is our brain literally does not have the awareness that something is wrong. And reasoning with that person and saying, yes, there's something wrong, results in there's nothing wrong. And I'm annoyed with you because you keep telling me there's something wrong. I'm telling you you're wrong. There's nothing wrong with me. And so reasoning through the situation with him is frustrating for you and frustrating for him. The not eating and drinking, do you have a sense as to why that is? Is that because the expectation is that he has always been getting up and doing those things for himself, and we need to step in and present him with more stuff? Or are you presenting him with stuff and he's still not eating and drinking?
All of the above. I mean, I've had to get Pedialyte just to try to get some balance in, what he's drinking, because I'm sure his electrolytes at this point are all messed up. So I'm trying to get him to drink that. And then I will get him anything. If he says he wants something to eat, I will go get it, and he'll eat maybe 2 or 3 bites of it, and then that's it. It's almost like the apathy aspect of this diagnosis is he just doesn't have the interest. He just he doesn't want it. He doesn't care.
Amy, there's one more thing from a medical perspective that I think might be helpful for you to consider. And I know it's another possible diagnostic type thing, but depression and dementia can mask one another. And if your husband has not been screened for depression, that is something that I think might be worth considering, specifically if you have a doctor that you can ask to screen your husband without him going in, like based off of if you have a good relationship with the doctor. Because if he does have depression, treating the depression, which can also cause apathy, which can also cause not wanting to eat or drink, or all of those other signs and symptoms, could be either one. So perhaps I would start there and see if screening him for depression and maybe getting a doctor to start him on an antidepressant might make a difference. I am not a proponent for medication first. And if, there's a large body of evidence that says people living with dementia have depression, and it's that what came first, the chicken or the egg, does the dementia cause the depression, or is depression a sign of the dementia? So perhaps starting with treating it as a depression and seeing if that makes a difference. How does that sound?
I mean, that would make sense. He's just had highs and lows. It's like being on a roller coaster with him. He'll have bouts where he'll be really like my husband again. And then there's times that he just goes back into all of these behaviors I discussed earlier. So I think that would be adequate if he'll go. And he always says, well, they're just going to give me a pill. They're just going to give me a pill. I'm like, that would be nice, maybe, if it's warranted.
What I'm suggesting is seeing if you can get him on a medication without getting him in the doctor. If you have a relationship with the doctor where you can express to the doctor through a MyChart conversation what it is you're seeing and his reluctance to come in, and asking them if they felt comfortable or confident with your background. I would use the medical provider background in saying, can we try something without him coming in, or even doing a televisit?
Okay.
And trying to get in through the back door related to medication. Sometimes at the beginning phases, true therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, can make a difference if it's depression. And I know if he's already reluctant, we're asking him to do a lot of things.
Right.
So what, young lady, is one action step that you can take off of our conversation today?
I'm going to get on my chart and talk to his doctor,
Okay.
see what we can work on and see if that can be a possibility.
Okay. And I think that's a really, really good place to start, because if he's so reluctant to go in, letting the doctors know what's going on at home, give them a little bit more information and express that your concern is that he will not go in for further testing. He will not go and do these things. And so there's a cost benefit analysis. Yes, from a healthcare provider perspective, I know you want to know. I get it, right? Having that diagnosis makes it easier for our brain to say, okay, this is what we're dealing with. And at the same time, having a specific definitive diagnosis is not necessarily going to change what we do. It just gives us something to hang it on. It makes it easier for our brain to categorize it. But let us assume that this is what it is. The diagnosis is going to catch up over time. But we definitively can see it's either signs of depression or it is part of his FTD. And how do we mitigate those responses so that we can help him and help you navigate this in a way that makes it sustainable over time?
Thank you.
It's very good to see you, Miss Jamie. When are you
Good to
coming
see
back
you.
to the upstate?
Probably mid-November.
Okay. Well, you need to let me know when you come, because I guarantee you and I need to go have a cup of coffee.
That would be wonderful.
Awesome. Well, it's good seeing
Thank
you.
you.